Yes, people, welcome to Premier League Match Week 11. And yes, Manchester United is at it again. But we also have a big game in Liverpool versus Man City. We see Chelsea hosting Wolves as they are at the bottom of the table. But also another big game this week with Arsenal playing Sunderland. So we jump into it all in this week's Premier League preview. Now, before we jump into it, we have to check the games out. So we have Tottenham United. As you know, we have a preview coming out for that game as usual. But Thomas Frank and Ruben Amorim, both managers, somewhat not under pressure, but still under a bit of pressure to get their teams and the train rolling a bit better. We have Chelsea taking off Wolves and Arsenal playing Sunderland. Now that for me is a massive game. Don't kid yourself. And it's crazy because a lot of people like to say, coming up from the championship, teams may struggle, but Sunderland's playing really good football. And I feel like also because they are a physical team and the league's actually changed to more of a physical league in the last year or two, especially this year, I feel it's helping them. So this game's going to be a game not only of good quality. Granit Xhaka returns to his hosts his former team, but also we're going to see a lot of physicality into this game. So set pieces, long throws, it's going to be like a bottom of the table fixture based on the quality in what we're going to see. But when you're looking at what we're really thinking about, it's at the top of the table because both teams are in the top half of the table. One's the lead and one's like in the top three. So, also, we have Aston Villa playing Bournemouth. I think that's going to be a very interesting game. Crystal Palace versus Brighton. That's even more interesting. And then we also have Man City playing Liverpool, which is the big game for us. So, Dimitar Berbatov was on talking about Benjamin Sesko. He was asked the question about Benny and he had a lot of positive things to say, in my opinion. I think he actually spoke about like how Sesko could improve and how he can deal with Manchester United and being at the club. He also spoke about things like how can Sesko learn and teach his players to make him get better. Which is also a beautiful thing to see from Dimitar Berbatov. Because unlike Gary Neville, as you all know how much I hate Gary Neville. And unlike Gary Neville, Dimitar Berbatov has spoken and given actual advice to Benjamin Sesko. He's saying to Benny, hey bro, you're at United. This is where you are. Let's get you understanding how to get this consistency, how to get better. So let's listen to what he had to say. Listen to this. This is what you call constructive criticism.
When you are Manchester United brand and you are one of the most famous team in the world, and you are always in the spotlight, for good or bad, you're there. And when you put the shirt on, the pressure automatically is on you to perform. To perform on the pitch and outside of the pitch, to know how to behave, to know how to speak to people, journalists, etc. So with him, maybe it's a slow start, but let's hope that he's taking that time to learn the new way of the Premier League, of his teammates, to learn how his teammates playing, to tell them how he plays. So that small details matters a lot in the games. When I make the run, just watch me. I will make that run for you. Give me the ball. Demand the ball. Of course, the strikers ultimately are judged by the goals they score.
You can't not respect this advice. It's the small details. How can I get better? How can you provide for me? Do you like in this Do you like when I run into the space in this time? Do you like when I come to the ball? Do you like when I spin off the defender? What do you want me to do in this time? They expect him to have this link up with these players in 5 minutes, and then expect, hey, Sesko, 5 games for you. Okay, but for other players, let's give them 20. You know, when you see Onslaught, they're doing all these things on TNT Sports, giving Onslaught a chance to explain why teams are beating him now and why he's able to not play Ekitike and Isaac, and can they work, and all these big money signings. How are they going to why aren't other managers getting these kind of chances? Huh? Why are other managers not getting the kind of opportunities like Liverpool? Hey, I must say Liverpool, big up to y'all now, because y'all media team, press, everything y'all do since Jurgen Klopp has been awesome. I remember when Klopp said United was getting too many penalties. Liverpool pushed that so much to the point where United stopped getting penalties. So big up to them now, because their manager are under pressure. And here he is, the manager they have, breaking down how other teams are beating him. So he's basically saying, hey, this is how I'm losing games. So everybody that want to know how to beat me, here's how to beat me. Like, and imagine if that was Ruben Amorim, bro. They hammered Amorim. Okay, fine. Slot has won the Premier League, so we have to give him that. But also, they've hammered Amorim and other managers, not only Amorim. A lot of managers in the league, Maresca, named them at top clubs, and never brought them in to actually break down how their team really play. Let's not forget, Amorim was the greatest manager in Europe in the eyes of a lot of these teams. You know, again, when we talk about Liverpool, yeah, and we'll get more into that, because there are some things going around about Ruben Amorim and about how Liverpool didn't want Ruben Amorim. And I just find it to be quite funny that they're bringing out these things, talking about Amorim and Liverpool. And I just feel like, for me, in my opinion, these guys are so disrespectful. You know, Liverpool states in this this article they bring out, talking about how they didn't want Amorim because it would cost them 500 million to change the team. Let's not forget they spent 450 million this summer. They also said that he would change the way they play football and the formation. Let's not forget their number one choice was Xavi Alonso. And let's not forget, they bought a right wing back, right, as a right back, thinking they were going to replace him with a natural right back central defensive midfielder. And here now they have one of their best midfielders from last season playing as a right back. But they spent 500 million. Andy Robertson is still probably the number one. But you have TNT Sports coming out saying, giving him a chance to explain how his team is this way, and giving him a chance to explain why Kirkes and Frimpong and all these players need a chance. Let's not forget now, Kirkes plays for Bournemouth, the guys. Liverpool was the champions now. So in actuality, they're talking about Cunha and Mbeumo have to hit the ground running. These players, yada yada, run them out, jada la 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 la, fa la 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 la. Yeah? And then they have these players like Kirkes who come to Liverpool, the champions, coming from Bournemouth, and looks like half average the player he was at Bournemouth. And people joke about this. But anyways, Thomas Tuchel, for all the all, he was also on about how, United could, not United, but why he chose to pick Phil Foden in the team. Now, Pep Guardiola, for me, best manager in the world, no doubt. There's Onslaught, who is, he's suspect. He won with a Jurgen Klopp team, playing the way Jurgen Klopp played. These guys were on momentum. They nearly won a quadruple. They had good momentum. It's the same reason why I feel Amorim coming in, United was always going to win to go to a final, because it was just in the DNA of that team with Ten Hag, they go to finals. So going to the Europa League final, whether the running was hard or not hard, I just believe United would have gotten to semi-finals or a final. It's just in the DNA of that squad. No. Pep Guardiola have this certain DNA in this squad that these guys are just champions. Pep Guardiola is the best manager. Arne Slot, as I said, a bit suspect, but yes, he won with the Jurgen Klopp team, but I don't think he's that good. Tactically, I don't see him being as flexible as people make it seem. He struggles against the basics of every team that just sits back and hit Liverpool on the counter and force them to have the ball can beat them. And this might be a thing that a lot of Dutch managers struggle with, even with a Ten Hag. Ten Hag tried to play a certain type of football and quickly realized it doesn't work in the Premier League. I feel like Arne Slot got a little bit confident, thought that he could have done that with Liverpool now, and now it's kind of backfiring. But yeah, Thomas Tuchel had some positive things to say about Phil Foden, and for me, Phil is one of the best players in his position on form in the world. Anyway, in the number 10, coming off of the right wing, Phil Foden, technically a genius. Tactically, still I think needs to learn how to be a bit more tactically astute. When you talk about tactically astute players, you talk about like a Mason Mount, like a Thomas Tonali, like a Bruno Fernandes. These players are tactically astute. A Granit Xhaka. You can see in the game that these players get jobs to do and they execute these jobs at a very high level. That is what you call a tactically astute player. So for me, Phil can develop that a bit more. Yes, just like Jack Grealish, I feel like those players, yes, they are top quality, and yes, they can do certain things, but I feel like those players, they're not that much astute. And maybe you find that with a lot of creative players, like you look at a Cunha, or you look at a Phil Foden, you look at let me call one of these players like a Ryan Shirky. You can't really give those players too many roles but to go and get on the ball and create. But still, you find now in football, a lot of these players are being asked to be a bit more tactically astute. So this is why I think he will struggle to get into an England team consistently. But also, I feel like this is why he was picked for England team. So this is what Tuchel had to say about Phil Foden.
Close to the opponent's box, as maybe a mix between a 9 and a 10, close to the opponent's box. For me, Phil scores and assists more from the 18-yard box, where he scored against Dortmund. He's on the half turn, then he assists. He's in the pockets. So I think the main thing with Phil is that he gets a role in the central part of the pitch. I don't see him as a winger at the moment, and maybe not anymore. He should have a central role. I think that brings out his strengths the most.
So, as I said, for me personally, I really like to see Phil coming off the right, playing in the central part of the pitch. Now, this just means that England have a lot of midfielders, that will be fighting for that position of them playing in the, I think, them playing in a central role. Now, I think you have Jude, you have Elliot Anderson, you have Declan Rice, you have Jordan Henderson, you have Curtis Jones. I think Kobe, and this is why I feel Kobe Mainoo is behind all of these players. Now, maybe if Mainoo plays, he gets a chance to play in this team. But just the way Tuchel is setting this team up, I really don't see a position for a Mainoo in this team yet. Mainoo still has a bit to develop, and maybe does he need game time to develop into that player? Maybe. But also, I think that he needs to also just bide his time and maybe take the summer to work a bit more and develop. Because all these guys, one, physically, have a lot more than Menu. You know, even Elliot Anderson, who's similar age, gets around the pitch a bit quicker and much more than Menu. And we can be honest about that. You have a Elliot Anderson. You have a Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson. You know, you have players in that midfield that he probably would even like dear more than a Kobe Menu. Now also, if Phil Foden, Cole Palmer is fighting for a position as a number 10 in that team, that means that Jude Bellingham also might not even start or may have to go into an 8 position, which then now allows him to fight with a number 6 with a Elliot Anderson. So I still don't see where the main who fits in. You have a Curtis Jones that can do both and is a bit more further ahead than Menu. So there's just a few things about the selection of the English team that makes me also think that Menu maybe just needs a little bit of chance to, you know, develop as a player. And then maybe he will be able to be in the talking, not only for Manchester United, but also in the talking for England. Now, Chelsea is on their way to have a big game this weekend against Wolves. I think Chelsea should be winning that game. But Enzo Maresca was hitting back at some of the pundits like a Roy Keane, like a Gary Neville and others who are talking about the rotation, the constant rotation of the squad. Now, in my opinion, a lot of these pundits who talk about the constant rotation, I feel like they don't realize that football is a lot quicker now. That players are covering a lot more, not even a bit more, in the distance of how much they travel in the game. You know, before centre-backs used to just pick up a few Ks in a game. Now, they are competitively up there with midfield players. What midfield players used to do, 8 to 10 Ks. Now, midfield players are up there to 12 to 15. Now, forward players are up there to 13 to 15. That's a lot of mileage on the body every 3 days. Usually, after you run so much, your body needs time to recover, time to rest, time to... You know, you can't just be thinking ice. Because at the end of the day, yeah, as much as sports science is improving, and as much as our bodies are improving as humans, and as much as food or all this intelligence is out there, food isn't getting any cheaper or better. You understand? So there are so many things I feel like come into play that a lot of these guys need to consider in this life. Even if these guys have access to the best of the best, it's your body still... We can't defy the logic of how our genetics are made up. Some players no matter how much you stretch, or your body just don't work, like a Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, and these guys expect everybody. I look at Cristiano Ronaldo, but look at you. Some of y'all are just 41 years old and Cristiano is 40 as pundits. Some of y'all are 43 as pundits and y'all cannot move around like these guys. So I feel like a lot of these guys need to, you know, check themselves when they speak about these players. But Enzo Maresca was talking about the situation and let's just hear what he had to say.
Their job much harder when you're not lining up the same person and have that same understanding again and again.
I said already many times, we are in a moment, in an era where anyone can say what they want. It's correct. I completely respect. But I also said after Karabakh game that since I joined the club, it's also my view to rotate player, and no one complain in the moment that you don't win game. I can understand that no one is agree. I think that. When the rotation is Andrei Santos, Brazil international player, Jorel Lato, Holland.
Now let's not forget, yeah. Now, so we get the gist of what he's saying, but let's think about this for a second. You know, look at PSG. You have Nuno Mendes is out. Now Chelsea and PSG, played not the same amount of games, but they went to the latter stage of the Club World Cup. Now, João Pedro was on vacation and was called back from Chelsea to come play. Okay? You have other players in there that had long-term injuries or had injuries within the season, like a Caicedo, like a Enzo, like other players who the team had to build, and had players like Fofana, Lavia, all these players, they had long-term injuries. Chelsea was on a point where they had so many players injured that they were struggling. This was part of why, even to the point where they had Mauricio Pochettino struggling. They had injuries and a lot of new players coming in and out. Now, these guys have to rotate, else they're going to have injuries. You have Dembele out, you have Izzy Due out, you have Nuno Mendes out, and you have more players at PSG. You had Marquinhos, who had an early injury. You had Hakimi, who had a bit of a knock off for a little bit. You had there Pacho, who had injuries. So a lot of these guys who have played a lot of games have injury problems. Now, of course, you want to see the best of the best, but this is what you need to do. You need to have a big squad and just rotate it. And I totally respect what Maresca is doing. A lot of these managers walk around here complaining, saying they should do this, saying they should do this, or they need to have the best players. But bro, just get a good squad. Get a good squad of 30 people and just play them. Rotate them. What if each one of them, instead of usually a team playing 50 games a season, what if they just play 35 to 40? At least they can play till they're 38. At least they can play till they're 40. But if you consistently put in all this, everybody does it. Everyone does not respond. Body does not respond to recover. Like players like a Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes play 90 plus minutes every game and come on and still run. Probably cover the most. Yeah, he probably on his body. When you hear Bruno retire, Bruno Fernandes gonna have so many, like, his body is gonna be so all over for how much strain he puts on his body now, but he can manage it. He can manage it. And this is why it's important for us to realize that certain players can manage certain things and certain players just can't. This is why we are different. This is why I'm Yaya. That is why you're Luke, Charlie, Jessica, Amanda. You know what I mean? It's just, we're just different. Our bodies are different. And this is why we have to respect genetics, biometrics, all these things. We have to just realize they do play a part. And some of these players just need more time to recover. So here is my predictions for the week. You see, I have Manchester United winning the game. I have Fulham going down to Everton and winning that one. I have West Ham drawing 2-2 with Burnley. Also, I have Arsenal beating Sunderland because they're just on a roll and they are like a choo-choo. And they are just, they are firing right now. And I've said it. I told you all weeks ago before this even started, I said, listen, Arsenal is going to go on a run of around 8 to 10 games. And if they do that to me, then I will talk about title. For now, they are on the run for that. So yes, I have to be able to say they are the favourites to the title. But in reality, let's see what happens for Arsenal. Now I have Chelsea beating Wolves, you can tell. I have Aston Villa having a draw down with Bournemouth. I just think both teams are very similar in terms of where they are. I think both teams may have I just think like both teams will score, go after each other, but then as the game goes on, I think both teams will just see the game out, get a point out of it. Brentford and Newcastle, I think both will come with a high intensity, playing at each other, but goal scoring isn't their strongest suit. I do have Waldenmead scoring a goal here, and I do think I have Quintero having one here for Brentford as well. Crystal Palace playing against Brighton. I think Palace might pick up that win just because tactically, Palace is better than Brighton. Brighton is a really good football team who just wants to play a certain way and a certain type of football. And we have to respect the fact that they do play good football. And that is just what their team is. And their team is a feeder club for most of the top teams in the Premier League. I have Forest picking up a win I just think that Sean Dyche will get one, especially against Leeds United. Because Sean Dyche is Sean Dyche, and Sean Dyche will find a way to get some momentum in Nottingham Forest. And it's good to see a manager like Sean Dyche get a chance at a club like Forest, who is in the European League, because he also brings European nights to Burnley. Let's not forget this. He brought European nights around that club. And then also, let's just talk about, yes, I have Man City and Man City beating Liverpool. It's going to be a goal fest, I think. I think both teams going to go after each other. I don't think both of them defensively are that good. But going forward, both of them have some serious attacks. And most of the attackers are firing in good ways. But yes, people, it's been your boy as usual with the Premier League preview. Don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe to the page. Keep hitting the bell for notifications, so I can keep bringing you great content going forward. Have a good time. Look out for the other videos. Take care. Ciao.